medicine and healthcare. Now here's your host, Carlton Lando, and co-host, Pearl Fontaine Butler.
Good morning to you, Dominica. We are so happy to be joining with you this Wednesday morning on another episode of Health Vibes. It's a great day. It's the day that the Lord has made. All of us will rejoice and be glad in it. We're happy that we have life and that we are healthy and we are wealthy. Not merely just in terms of material things, but wealthy in terms of wellness. And I'm happy that you always tune in to Health Vibes, whereby you can get all of the up-to-date information as it relates to healthcare. Let me thank all our customers who visited us last week for the amazing Customer Appreciation Week of activities. Pearl, you have an amazing quarter-9 smile this morning.
Thank
What's
you, Carlton.
happening?
Good morning, Dominica. It's obviously such a pleasure to be here. And I have to say, last week I had an amazing time in the store, transforming faces and just giving advice
I saw you
on
doing your
makeup.
thing.
And it was such an amazing experience, And
But Pearl, you're such a good teacher. I think, I passed by and I saw you doing and really giving information, letting people know what is best for them and what is their skin type and what the do's and don'ts
I think that it's important to empower people and women in particular. For me, anyway. So that's definitely my goal and my direction. Whenever I do someone's face, I not only want to just transform it, I want you to be able to do the same thing as well. And I had an amazing time with the Jollies team and the clients that came into the store. I had some good laughs, and it was a great day. And I'm sure that they also appreciated all of the discounts that we offered.
Yes. And the many gifts we gave. I gave out at least 12 gift certificates throughout the week. And someone won a tablet on the last day. And it was a lady who was well deserving of that tablet. She said she really, truly wanted one of those devices. And so I was happy that she won it.
And this is the thing, God always knows who needs, who's in need, and He definitely decides to bless. So today we have a very interesting topic. There's a slight twist on it because while you may feel that we always give information on certain diseases or diseases, today we're going to look at the challenges that a cancer patient faces. And I think it's very important for us to understand that so we can be more sympathetic and more supportive of these people. You can call us up on 449-3095, 449-3096, 3097, 616-4257, or on the overseas line 305-432-9624. You can also join our live streaming by going to www.q95da.com and click on the YouTube video stream icon or player. And basically I think today's topic, the whole idea behind it is that we wanted to kind of convey some sort of awareness re-cancer and not necessarily focus on the disease but on the patients and what they go through. So we have a wonderful guest in store with us today. Her name is Miss Diana Gitton. She's the president of the Dominica Cancer Society. Miss Gittins, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Good morning, my dear.
So learning that you or someone you know may have cancer is obviously a difficult experience. And after a cancer diagnosis, someone may feel anxious, afraid, or overwhelmed and wonder how they can cope or how they are going to cope during the days ahead. Miss Gittins, can you take us through the process from your experience? So a patient receives the dreadful diagnosis. What happens next? What usually happens next?
Well, it really depends on the patient and it depends on your personality, your culture. For me, initially I had a few seconds of devastation. I was stunned. and confusion, because I'm asking myself, I am so young. How is it that I am being diagnosed? You see the ads looking for cancer support and cancer treatment, and you're like, this will never happen to me. So I was confused, and I was thinking that the world was coming to an end. But I can assure you that this only lasted for me probably a day or two.
So wait a minute. I mean, let me just go back. So you are actually
a cancer survivor.
A cancer survivor. Okay. So I was just thinking she's just the president of the Dominica Cancer Society. Okay. So this is great. All right.
So that initial reaction, most persons would experience that, but I'm not saying it would be the same for everyone. Some people, they would just go into deep depression.
Yeah.
Some people would not even be able to accept the diagnosis, and some people would go for the remainder of their lives not accepting the diagnosis. But for me, it was different, because I guess based on my upbringing, my belief in God, my upbringing saying that there's always something good in store. Even though the world may seem as if it's coming to a place that there's only darkness, there's always something there that you can cling on to. And so I found hope in the fact that after I got the diagnosis, I started doing research, and that a lot of people, after they go through the initial shock, frustration, confusion, they start researching. Either they go on the internet, either they ask people that they know, they reach out to family members. And this would be the second stage, and this was the second stage for me. So I called my friend's father, who's a doctor. I went on the internet, and just so you know, I was diagnosed with cervical cancer, and that's one disease that affects many women in Dominica. And so there's quite a bit of information out there as relates to cervical cancer. But then I really wanted to know not only how the disease was treated, but how it would have affected my body. I wanted to know how the treatment would have affected my body. So those are some of the things that I researched after initial diagnosis. And I had this burning desire. I could not understand. I knew what cancer was from a scientific perspective, but then I really wanted to know what it looked like. I mean, I really wanted to understand, what does cancer look like? Because I'm looking at myself in the mirror, a young lady. I felt relatively well, and my body looked relatively well. So I'm wondering, what does cancer look like? And so I started researching as to what the cervical cancer looked like. And then the photos of the cervix at the different stages of cervical cancer, I was like, whoa. And so I became repulsed to some extent by myself, because you're thinking, wow, this is inside of me. I want to get it out. And that was the motivation that would have pushed me to some extent. That's one of the things that would have motivated me to access treatment, to access care, because it does not look pretty. And you say cancer is not pretty. So if I'm going to review, I would have had confusion, then I would have done research, and then now I'm motivated to access care. And for many cancer patients, you cannot afford it. And coupled with the fact that you can't afford it, you don't know where to go to access it.
Yes.
So I was referred to Barbados. And I knew no one in Barbados, at least no one that I had a close relationship with, that would have been able to provide support. And I was not familiar with the centers, even though I had a referral letter. And I'm here in Dominica, and I'm being sent to Barbados, and I had never been to Barbados. I cannot even imagine in my mind where I should go, and that in itself is a challenge. And so when I realized I could have headed to Guyana for treatment, I was excited, because that is where I'm from. And so my relatives are there. I know exactly where the cancer center is, even though I didn't know that they had a cancer center. I know the location, and that really put my mind to rest. So I knew where I could have accessed care. And many of our patients do not know where to access care. And I'm speaking simply about even accessing care in Dominica, because a lot of the chemotherapy that we would have done here, that patients are prescribed to do, they can do it right here, and they don't even know. They don't even know where to go to purchase the drug. And that is something that the Dominica Cancer Society, we've assisted in that regard, with helping persons to kind of navigate them from the center, where the oncology center, to the central medical stores, where they can pay for the medication. Sometimes they don't even know where they have to go to do their blood tests. And so in this time of confusion, in this time of hurt and frustration, it's good sometimes to have someone to hold your hand. And even if you go with someone that, maybe you go with your mom and your mom doesn't know where to access it, the fact that you have someone there that can possibly ask someone, ask someone for you, intervene on your behalf. It still gives you that kind of support and that kind of strength so that you can move on. So I'm now at a point where I'm motivated to access care. And so I'm looking where I found the place where I can do treatment. And now I'm looking for how I'm going to get there, because you need money to travel.
Mm-hmm.
You need money to pay for the treatment that you're going to get. You need money so that you can live.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I didn't have to pay for accommodation because I am from there. My relatives live there. But then you still want to be able to provide your food, because right away you begin looking at your diet.
Yes.
So most people say that, it's so much more expensive to eat healthy. And, a lot of times I disagree. It means that you may not be able to have a quick meal on the go. You have to do more planning.
Mm-hmm.
But really and truly, if you really plan, and you don't need to buy 10 mangoes to eat in 2 days, more than likely you'll take in more than you need. And the fiber inside of the mango fills you up quickly. So if you're able to listen to your body, you really do need to buy just less, and you can go for a long time. You need to plan your meals so that the vegetables don't spoil. But really and truly, if you plan, it's not that expensive. So I had to take all that into consideration whilst acknowledging the fact that I had my job, I had my son, and my family to take into consideration. So you're dealing with your diagnosis. I'm dealing with my diagnosis. I'm also taking these other peripheral things into consideration. Who looks after my son when I'm gone? How do I get money? How do I maintain my job? How do I come back into a job? And I'm grateful. God has been good to me in that I stayed out of Dominica for approximately 6 months, accessing care, doing treatment. And my son was well taken care of. I came back and I still had a job. And in that regard, I'm forever grateful, because many persons, a lot of employees in Dominica, they do offer, I've noted that they do allow patients to go ahead, have their access their care, and they come back into their jobs. Very few patients were not able to keep their jobs whilst they access care. And so I would have accessed care, but during treatment, I can say for me, it was a bittersweet, because accessing treatment was tough. But having the support of friends and family made it so much more easier to deal with. I can tell you, I did external radiation. That's 5 weeks. I go every day during the weekday for radiation. At the end of the week, I do chemotherapy. That's cisplatin. And I can tell you, coming on to the end, I would sit in the taxi and I would say, I remember the second to last day, I'm like, I don't want to go. And it was one taxi driver I was using all the time. And he said, lady, you are going. I am not putting you anywhere. And furthermore, when I drop you off, I'm going to stay here to ensure that you get into that building and you stay inside there.
The support again.
Right. And so, it comes to you come into that end and you're saying, yes. One more thing. And then, I had to do internal radiation, which was not pleasant. And so I'm thinking that this is the end of my treatment, because that was my treatment plan. And then the doctor tells me, you know what? We're adopting a new treatment regimen, and we want you to do some more chemotherapy. But now it might be a little tougher. You have to do 2 different drugs and 2 different days back to back for 4 cycles. And I'm at that point in time, that's the first time that I would have really, really broken down and say, oh my goodness gracious me, can I endure more of this? And I must say it was tough, but I can tell you that I enjoyed life. Even though I was doing treatment, and I'm telling you that I underwent treatment for 6 months, I enjoyed life. I knew that I could not have been in pain, or I could not have been upset, or I could not have been feeling discomfort all throughout. At some point in time, I would have gotten a reprieve. And those moments of reprieve, as soon as I felt it, I was out of the house. I went to shows. I went to the gardens with my friends. I visited my family's homes. We went out. As soon as I felt well enough, I was out and about. And that is a good distraction technique, especially for persons who have chronic diseases. And you live with this possibly for the rest of your life. You need to be able to get to a place where you're able to find something that distracts you, that takes you away from the troubles of whatever it is that you're experiencing at that point in time, and move on. And so that was effective. So throughout my treatment, I've had challenges, but they've always been coupled with joyous moments. They've always been coupled with comfort because of the support that I received, and finding that place within myself, knowing that this is my life, and I can even though cancer is something that you cannot predict, you don't know what will happen next, I can predict what I do next and how I feel next. And so, and I've taken over.
So I mean, in a nutshell, what you're saying is that you control cancer. Cancer doesn't control you.
Right. You try your best, you know.
But you know, not everybody's, the reality is not everybody's experience is like that. And not everyone would look at a diagnosis the same way. And, you know, and I think that definitely has an impact on the entire process, and whether, you know, somebody becomes a survivor or succumbs to it.
Yes. But, you know, I'm going to say that you know, cancer helped to guide me and kind of give me the life that I have today. I'm not where I want to be, but it has helped me to see the direction I would like to take, the path I'd like to take. And being involved in the Dominican Cancer Society, I've become more appreciative of the different personalities we have out there. Persons who would be diagnosed with cancer and they just crumble. And and lots of people look at them and say, why can't you be like Jane, who is going through treatment and the person is just brave? But I still appreciate that person and what they're going through, because that is the individual, that's the way that's how they cope. And as people, that when we want to support someone, it's not, you know, it makes it so much harder when you look at the person and say, why can't you be like? You have to understand, I'm all for encouraging the person to have a positive outlook, but we also need to be cognizant that sometimes the person may not be at this stage forever, and we can encourage them, but do not compare their diagnosis to the diagnosis of someone else. Give them the opportunity to go through the phases and the cycles while you support them. Not encourage them to go down into darkness or depression, but support them in such a way that they know that they have you there, and even if they fall, that you're there to pick them up, and that they themselves don't even have to rely on you totally, because we need to teach them independence too, because there's going to be a time when they're going to be alone. You have to give them the ability to cope, encourage them that they be able to develop coping skills and coping mechanisms, so that when they're on their own and they're reflecting, even though there may be negative thoughts, there'll be some positive thoughts that can keep them out from falling into depression.
Initially, you mentioned that you know, I'm taking in everything that you've said, and Carlton, I think you can go ahead and let me just kind of
because
gather my thoughts.
One of the things too about cancer, and I get that from what you're saying, it's important that the patient expresses their own feelings, and you give them that avenue to go through the transition, because there will be ups and there will be downs. I remember when my sister was sick, sometimes she would feel for a particular meal. My mom will go and prepare that meal for her, and then time my mother brings it to her, her appetite goes away and she doesn't want the food again, or she doesn't want that particular meal. So you have to really be in sync with the person. You have to be extremely patient. It takes a lot, and you really do need the family support. It's more than just giving the money to do the different procedures and medications and so forth, but it's really the tangibles that's important. Knowing that you know you can spend some time and hold this person's hand and talk with them and wipe them off when they vomit and clean them. Those things are very, very, very crucial. And it's important that, you know, we can actually say to people that it's okay to cry with your loved one when they're sick. It's okay to hold their hand. It's okay to support them and to encourage them. Because one of the things that I've found though is that most people, when they are sick with cancer or some terminal illness, it draws them closer to their maker. It draws them closer to God. Nothing else matters. The material things and the possessions and all those things, they don't even place so much emphasis on it. I mean, you may have some people who juggles with what they're going to do with their property and so forth, but the majority of people, they really hold on to God and the essence of the afterlife.
Okay.
Good morning, caller.
Good morning.
Good morning, caller.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning to you, ma'am. How are you?
I'm doing okay.
Yes, thanks for calling.
And I want to say thanks to you
You're welcome,
for
madam.
the vulture, give vulture.
Yes,
Because one of our sisters going through that process.
yes.
And it really hard for her.
Mm-hmm.
And she have to thank God with her.
Yes.
Because every 2 weeks somebody have to travel to Guadeloupe to spend some time with her.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we prepare the food for her. She tell you, I don't want that, no? She don't have taste for it. But you cannot blame her.
Yes, yes.
It's what she's going through.
Mm-hmm.
It's what the chemo is doing to her. You can't blame her. And I was saying she needs somebody there with her. Because when she take the chemo, sometimes she vomits, she pass a lot of stool. She needs the support of her family there with her.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not an easy road for her.
Yes, yes.
And she can thank God for her family. Because every 2 weeks, somebody has to go up to Guadeloupe to spend some time with her.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going through that process.
Yes, you have to, and you have to encourage yourself too, and you have to affirm yourself with the positives, you know, because even the family themselves need the support too. Yes, it's true that you're taking care of the client, the patient, but you, your own self, need some time, because sometimes what my mom used to do, my mom and my mother's sister used to come, and they would take shifts. So my aunt would maybe do most of the taking care of my sister in the day, and then my mother would come in the evening, and so my mother would have some rest in the day, you know, that type of thing. And so this is very, very important as well for families to actually help with the rules.
Well, because we do it by shift.
Yes.
Everybody spend spend some time with her and help her morning.
Yes.
And help them too. We do it by shift.
Okay.
And that is a good thing.
Okay.
With her.
All right, my dear. Well, thanks for calling. Yeah.
She her and she appreciates us for what we are doing for her.
Okay, my dear.
Okay.
And keep the faith.
Okay, so I've gathered my thoughts now. So earlier on, you said, you would see these signs and these ads about cancer, and you never thought that it would be you. Is there anything that you would have done differently prior to the diagnosis? Was there anything that you felt like, even in your research, did you feel like, maybe I shouldn't have eaten this, or maybe I shouldn't have done this, or, could this have been the reason, or could this have been the cause? Were there any of those thoughts?
Well, if I had gone more in depth as relates to leading up to my diagnosis, you would have gotten that point, in the sense that, for cervical cancer, one of the screening methods is having your pap smear, at least having it done once a year, and then after it's been clear for a year, you do it every 2 years based on the doctor's recommendation. And I was doing my pap smears, but one of the things that I wasn't doing was doing the follow-up. So I would do the pap smears, I'd get the results, and then after a period of time, I became so caught up with life and living that I thought I'd cast a bruise. And so I would have to travel every morning and come down. And so I went to the health center and I did do my pap smear. And I went for the results a long time after. And then I realized when I checked the results, it was inconclusive, because they couldn't have read the smear, because there was so much mucus. And they had collected more mucus than cells. And so they asked me to repeat. And I paid no mind to it. Right? Even though I knew about HPV, because I would have done it during my studies. I knew what HPV was, I knew what happened, and I was quite familiar with that. And, we take so much for granted. And so that was maybe one of the regrets that I may have had, but it wasn't a huge regret, because in my mind, this happened for a reason. And it has brought me to a place closer to where I would have wanted to be. So I'm not saying, people would probably say, I would say cancer is a blessing, but to some people it really is. It helps them sometimes with the relationships that they have that may have been broken. It helps them to see exactly something that they may not have been seeing all along, whether it's if they were in an abusive relationship and they want to get out of it, and it gives them the strength, the motivation to say, hey, I was just faced with my mortality, I should move out and get on. It really brings, for some people, it brings you to a better place. For some persons, it brings you to a lower place in the sense that you face challenges than you. But for me, I think that if I would have had any regrets, it would have been not following up with my pap smear, because it would have been detected much earlier, because I was diagnosed at stage 3B, which was far on advanced.
Wow.
I was already at an advanced stage. And
well, how long did you wait before? Don't tell me a year.
No, I think it was longer than a year. I waited, and and eventually when I was first diagnosed, I was not diagnosed with cancer. I was diagnosed with that I had a fibroid growing down into my vaginal cavity. And I questioned that so much, and then the doctor took me into surgery and removed it, and it was as if when I left there, I felt as if I had somebody punching inside there. I was like, that was tough. And I spoke to him about it. He said, he did have a difficult time, but they always do biopsies, and when the results came back a month after, he was like, we need to do this again. I cannot believe that this is what was there. It was a huge growth. And so based on that, you look at yourself and you think, boy, we live with all sorts of things. And this comes back to me advocating for screening.
Yes.
There are guidelines out there, and you hear us saying all the time, have your pap smears done, have your prostate checked, do your self breast examinations. You feel uncomfortable, be at one with your body so you can know when there are changes. It might not be your breast, it might be your throat, it might be your mouth, it might be your eye, it might be your nose, it might be your neck, your elbow. You might feel lethargic and tired. Know your body. Pay attention to your body.
I'm glad that you said that, because my next question was, did you have any symptoms? Did you notice anything prior to the diagnosis?
Yes. Eventually, and that is what would have encouraged me. Things like discharge, vaginal discharge. That was I wasn't paying attention. Periods that weren't regular, and then the thing that really drove me to the doctor was pain in my pelvic region, and I was kind of rolled up in a ball. And I have a high pain threshold. So when I'm telling you that I was unable to ignore the pain, and I was kind of just all curled up and ready to go, I decided, this is it. I'm going to the doctor and I'm going to see what is wrong. And, when I did that, I didn't get the diagnosis right away, of course. It was about 2 months after I got the diagnosis. And I'm grateful that, it even came that quickly. And I think that having a positive attitude really helped me. Really, really did help me. And at this point, I'd just like to indicate that I had an aunt who also was diagnosed with cervical cancer, and she had been diagnosed prior to me. She was diagnosed at stage 1, and she did not access care. She got to the point where she was ready to do radiation, ready to do chemotherapy, and she questioned the doctors to, why do I have to do this much? Why do I have to do this much? And initially when I was diagnosed and I realized what it was, I was angry and upset at her that she would have questioned and gone through all this when she was diagnosed so early.
Yes.
By the time when I started accessing care, she was probably diagnosed about 2 years prior to that, and so by that time it had advanced and it had gone through the wall, and it was just a horrible case. And at that point in time is when her body would have weakened, and she was trying to access care, and sad to say, she passed. And that was a tough time for me, because it made me I had finished treatment, I had completed treatment, but then at that point in time, you just finished treatment and you know that there's no cure for cancer, and you're wondering what next, because follow-up now is a huge part of your treatment plan. And that really brought me down, because I'm like, I couldn't even think of her death. I couldn't think of her death because I saw myself dying. So we really didn't want to make this show a sad show. But
No.
sad.
No, I'm not sad. I'm not sad. I'm just taking in everything.
And so, moving to that place, and this give me a spirit of, I've always loved volunteering, but it made me more, focus more on non-communicable diseases. I don't only volunteer with the Dominica Cancer Society. I volunteer with the Dominica Diabetes. I would like to be more active.
Yes.
But, Dominica Cancer Society takes more time of my time.
Yes, caller, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Very good morning.
Good morning to you, sir.
Yes, I just thought that I should call to ask questions regarding the artificial penis, as it's called dildo,
Okay.
that is used on women, particularly by the lesbians, used on women. What effects, if I may ask first, can that have on women? And my God, I got lost with my next question here. Okay, right. Because you see, the fact about it is that unlike a real penis, which will discharge and get soft after a while, that artificial penis or dildo remains hard. It does not discharge, and therefore you will find whoever it is being used on could create severe effects to the other woman's organs inside, thus creating damages and stuff like that. And a lot of the women may are not thinking of that and are not aware of the dangers that they could encounter regarding the use of those dildos. Thank you.
Okay. From what I know is that some of the dildos, based on the type of material that they are made of, they can cause some levels of infertility and hormonal imbalances. In terms of their linkage to anything carcinogenic or cancer causing, I don't know of anything, because I know doctors do sometimes recommend people could use dildos. So in terms of, the link to dildos and cancer, I'm not too sure. Again, the very same thing with even the male penis. According to the type of sexual activity people engage in, they can cause damage to the cervix, to certain parts of the vagina. And so I think the same thing is applicable to that of a dildo if it's used incorrectly, or if it's used in a malicious manner, or that can cause some type of breakage or damage to the cervix.
I actually like the point that the caller made, because while we don't know for sure, but there could be some truth to it, because we're learning so much about plastics and latex and all different kinds of substances, and how they can affect our bodies, our hormone system and everything like that. So, we never know, but that's something that we definitely can research and pinpoint.
Just to make a possible connection with the use of the dildo and cancer, a lot of times when we have sex with our partner, a male, we would tell him, well, wear a condom. And we do know that HPV is transmitted through body fluids and contact with body fluids. A lot of times, I'm supposing that we may look past that. If our partner is a woman and she has a dildo and she's using it, we may not use a condom on the dildo. And remember, there are fluids coming from the woman's body, because she may have used it and using it on the other woman's body, and there may be transfer of HPV that I know, and that can be, and we know the different strains of HPV would be cancer causing, or at least related to some amount of cervical cancer. So that would be something that we could probably take into consideration.
Very good point. We have another caller. Good morning.
Good morning, caller.
Brother Carlton, talking about cancer, at the last period at the sales giveaway, price giveaway and discount at Johnny Pharmacy, I recognize there is a new shipment of mackerel, which is a very strong source of minerals, and it really enabled the body to clean up and able for people to ready to speak up their mind. And I believe it's a very good source of to treat cancer. It really enables to wash out the body, and it's the only source of cure for cancer.
Okay, caller. Yes, thank you very much. We will look into that. Thank you. All right, but I wanted to focus a little on what support does the Cancer Society gives to family members who has a member. So, for example, a young lady, a working mother, has been newly diagnosed with cancer. She has young children at school. The children are expected to continue doing good at school, but they are the same ones that are taking care of their mother when they get home and seeing her in the pain and the stress and may have to cook, the meals for her and all of that. What type of support would you recommend that families give and societies give to such people?
Okay, so let me start off with the Dominica Cancer Society first. The Dominica Cancer Society has 2 groups that are affiliated with us, the Rosa Support Group and the youth arm of the Dominica Cancer Society. What the Rosa Support Group, the main function is to provide support, psychosocial support for persons within that group, persons who may be affected by cancer. So let's say, for example, an individual is diagnosed like you would have indicated, and they would reach out to us. We try our best not to invade people's private space. So let's say, for example, you come to me and you say, "Hi, Miss Gittins, my friend has been diagnosed and I think she needs some support." And we will ask you, does she want us? Can you ask her if she'd like Dominica Cancer Society to visit to provide support? And so a small group of the Rosa Support Group may visit this person and share their experiences, ask her to share her challenges, or him or her the challenges and what their expectations are, what to expect during chemotherapy, and also explain that my experience may not necessarily be yours. The other option is for the person to attend a support group meeting. We have support group meetings the 3rd Wednesday every month. The group of women, generally women, and we're looking for some men to join us. We sit together. We do empowerment sessions as to food, having a healthy diet, exercise, and just general discussion as relates to cancer. You can also come. You can share. Share your current challenges with a group of persons. And if you want to have it more private, you can say, "Hey, can I?" And someone else who may have a similar diagnosis to yours, who may have faced the same challenges. You can ask, "Can I speak to you? Can you give me your contact information that I can contact you?" And then we have this wonderful, awesome person who is the coordinator of the support group, who is Miss Claudia Emmanuel, and she would call these people up. She would ask, "How are you this morning? What did you have for breakfast?" Once the person is open to this, and she's going to contact us, let's say if she finds that this person needs a little bit more support as it relates to guidance to access care, she's going to call the board, she's going to call someone that she knows that can guide the person better than she can. And so we find that kind of support. As it relates to family, the role of the family, we know, is to provide a support system for all the family members. And some of the things that I would have liked, and my likes are not going to be someone else's likes. I really like the fact that my relatives would sit with me and they would watch television, they would prepare my meals for me, and one of the things that I thought was most important was giving me the freedom to still care for myself. Give me independence, letting me know that I'm not totally reliant on them, that I am not dead. And that there are some things. So in the mornings, I remember getting up in the mornings and making breakfast for myself, and my aunt, who was my primary caregiver at that time, making breakfast for her also.
Wow.
And that gave me that independence. And then she would say, "Lady, you are not dead, wash your dishes." That was what worked for me. Someone else's family would give independence in a different way. But letting them know that, hey, you have not passed on. There are things that you can still do. There is still hope. As it relates to friends, I had a friend who would come to visit me every single afternoon. He would come with his laptop and a movie, and we'd watch that movie. And I was at a point where I was salivating, hypersalivating, so my mouth was full of saliva. I was vomiting all the time, and so I really couldn't have a conversation. But he sat there and we communicated with and if the conversation gets spicy, I'd run to spit or vomit and come back. Yes, I remember when that happened, And so that support was awesome. Then, I had other friends who would come up, "Hey, Saturday is church. We are going to church." And I would do chemo the Thursday or so. Try to do my chemo at least 3 days before Saturday so that I can feel a little bit better enough to go to church. And if I cannot go to church, I'd wait for them to come home after church, and I would visit, and they kind of lying on bed, we might have a little prayer session, but having a normal conversation. I had a friend who would come across and tell me all her problems. Every single last problem that she would have faced. And that made me feel as if
you were stronger than her.
I felt as if I had worth in this world. And she would come and she would "I am tired of hearing you saying, go and spit, man. You want to spit, just go and spit." And she was the person who motivated me to start talking about my disease, because initially when I diagnosed initially, the first person I told, the person said, you had lots of sex, man. And I was like, what? That has no, is this the way people are going to view me?
Yeah.
And so I kind of closed up.
Yeah.
And then, my friend explained, it had to be someone who was ignorant that said that to you, that it really didn't mean that.
Right.
And so I was able, she coaxed and she was like, okay, can I tell somebody you have cancer and what kind of cancer you have? And I was like, and she was rough with me. You need some of those friends at certain times. And she was, so she got me to the point that when I started really talking and sharing, she was very proud of me. That I could have gotten to the point where I would share everything and let people know that this is what to expect. So, having that friend, having that family member, and all the support is going to be different for different persons.
True.
Okay.
Good morning, caller.
Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning to you. How are you?
All right. This is a very interesting program.
Thank you.
Ethan.
Yes,
you.
Shirley, I hear
I'm
you.
impressed with you.
Thank you, Shirley.
Okay, I just wanted to add that the support group also makes people feel very comfortable. There are a lot of people, because they hear cancer, they think it's a death sentence, and they sort of stay within themselves and don't want people to know. But although I don't have cancer, when I'm just a supporter, and when at first I went to the meeting and I said, okay, I'm going to at least motivate these people and help them to know this, it was amazing to see how the group helped them, because it made them see that they alone do not have the cancer. There are other people like them, and when you go in there, you'd never think it's sick people or cancer people. That's what this support group does for them. They encourage them. When it's their birthdays, they make them feel, well, let's come together and celebrate. They dance, they have a good time. And I know that helps them a lot. So one of the things I would encourage those people who have cancer, whether you have it or not, come together at the support group meetings, and you're going to benefit a whole lot. As Ms. Gitton said, we have it once a month. And you are going to benefit. It helps you to live too, even if you know that it's a disease that might take your life, but you know the little years that you have, make the best of it, celebrate life to the fullest.
Thank
so
you.
That's my little mini contribution. See you then.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Shirley, I hear you saying they have fun, they celebrate. It should be we, because even though Shirley's not a cancer patient and she's a supporter, she's accepted. We accept others. It's a group of persons. Whether or not you have cancer, we do not look and say, hey, this person does not have cancer. What is that person doing there? Shirley is welcome. She's a part of the support group. So it's not they, it's we. We all do it, where the supporters and the survivors come together and they have that support network, and we have fun. They have fun.
I wanted to ask you, how important is it to maintain a healthy lifestyle?
We cannot put a value on the health, on the lifestyle that we should incorporate if you see with a cancer diagnosis. Because for me, in my opinion, having a healthy diet strengthens you so that you can face the chemotherapy, face the treatment of itself. So without even thinking, hey, I don't want to have cancer. Without even thinking of a preventive. You already have cancer. Say, hey, I can't do anything about it. I'm still going to eat my meat. I already have cancer. But I'm saying today that having a healthy lifestyle, meaning diet and exercise, and not only diet and exercise, but state of mind. Your mind also needs to be healthy. It goes a long way, right? It helps your body to better cope with treatment and the diseases. It helps you to fight better. Because many times the foods that we eat affects how we feel.
True.
It affects how we feel. And if you have a food that has a negative effect on your body, has you depressed, has you wanting, has you lethargic, obviously, how are you fighting? How are you So you need to equip yourself with the tools. And one of the tools that you need exercise. And exercise helps you to release endorphins. You feel better about yourself after exercise. Your body, your muscles thank you because they've been engaged in activity. They're no longer there doing nothing, and they're better able to fight off any infection. The blood circulation increases. And you have more blood rushing to your cells, more nutrients rushing to your cells. Having a healthy diet means, to some extent, imagine you've been diagnosed with cancer, but you still gain weight because of the diet that you have, and now you have to face not only cancer, but you have to face possibly diabetes and hypertension, and you've just coupled your diagnosis with something else. So now you have more challenges to face. So as a person who's a cancer patient who's been diagnosed, you do need to have a healthy diet, you need to exercise, and you need to get to a place where you emotionally or mentally stable. Mm-hmm. And if that means that you need to reach out and interact with the social work, a counselor, or that support is there. It's just getting a way to access it, or even talking to a family member or a friend. So definitely it is important to ensure that you have healthy diet, exercise, and
you made mention that with the Cancer Society, I'm getting a bit passionate about the Cancer Society. There is not many men active in the Cancer Society.
Well, we have you now.
And we really need to send the plea out there that we need men. Men are sufferers of cancers. Men die of cancers. Prostate cancer is one of the number one cause of death among men in Dominica. And we need men to actually take up a role to help. If we as men, put our energies in this, we will be able to affect other men throughout Dominica. A man in La Plaine may need us and might be able to communicate with us better than would communicate with a female, on his feelings, what is going on with him, because he has the same body structure like we do. And so it's important, and would be able to speak the language that we would be able to understand. So it's very important that men actually come up and step up to the plate and say, listen, I want to be a part of this association. I want to be someone to give back to humanity. I want to be someone that's going to be a big brother, a father to another man who is suffering with cancer. I want to be able to dig into my pocket at time and submit at least $10 or $20 towards the cause of cancer. When we hear of the cost that it takes for people to get treatment, particularly the radiation out of Dominica, it's really, really costly. And we need everything in our power. We need to do everything in our power to help with the cause of cancer, to help raise funds, to help, to energize that extra money that you might have. Give the Cancer Society a call. You at your job, you can take a sheet and begin to pass it around among your work peers and say, well, listen, I am on drive to raise funds for cancer. Are you willing to give something, from your stock money towards cancer? Because, it can affect every one of us. I remember when my sister was sick, we were buying the 2 last weeks before she passed on, we were buying oxygen for her at home. And it was costing about $197 for a tank of oxygen. And you have to buy this oxygen like every 3 days. It takes a lot of money. And this money is coming from somewhere. And the ins and out of hospitals and the blood tests and all these different things are not for free. The hospital itself needs to sustain itself. And so you have to pay the cost. And so it's important that we all recognize that it's a big, big picture. And everybody in Dominica now knows somebody who have passed on with cancer, or knows somebody who is suffering with cancer, or has had a family member afflicted by cancer, and would have experienced what it was like, to really spend so much money on this person. Some may have lived and some may have died. But needless to say, it's important that we really, challenge our men to be a part and take up responsibility as it relates to, being a tangible part of the association, and doing everything in your power to encourage other young men to do their tests, to do their screenings, to prevent themselves from contracting one of the diseases.
One thing that I'd like to highlight before the end of this program, as a cancer patient, something that we should never put we should put of high importance is your interaction with your healthcare provider. Many times we have patients who leave the healthcare provider. When I talk about healthcare provider, I speak of the nurse, your doctor, without asking the burning questions that they have in the back of their minds. And they go home and they worry and they stress and they look for that information. But sometimes the best person to give you that information is your doctor. You do not understand what the treatment is and what it's for, ask your doctor. You don't understand what the side effects are, ask your doctor. You feel different. You've been taking this medication, you feel different, tell your doctor. Do not tell, yes, share it with your family members. But the most important person to tell that to is your healthcare provider, because they would understand the interactions of the medication that you'll be taking. They might better understand and prepare you for the possible side effects of the medication that you'll be taking. So, yes, eat healthy. Yes, exercise. Yes, have that family support that you need. And if not family, friends, or whoever you can reach out to for that support. But another thing is that you need to be able to trust your healthcare provider.
True.
Being able to ask questions, even the questions that you think sound silly. And one of the things that I learned through my research, one of the things that I actually researched what I should do upon diagnosis, after diagnosis. And one of the things they told me, write down a list of questions that you have about treatment, that you have about your condition. Write it down so that you do not forget it. So you know you're going to have an appointment in the next 2 weeks, and you've noticed that you've been bleeding 5 times a day. Why am I bleeding 5 times a day? Write it down so you do not forget.
Yeah.
Have a book, have a piece of paper that you know is set there for questions and comments or concerns that you may have. So that when you go into the doctor's office, you do not forget, and you can have, even if it's 15 minutes, 20 minutes, you have that time that you can get answers to your questions. And if the doctor cannot answer your question at that time, don't lose faith in the doctor, because he or she is only human. But try to ask him to get the answers. And if you have to go to another doctor at some point in time just to get feedback, I'm not telling you to change your healthcare provider because of that. You ensure that you get, and let him give you, or him or her kind of give you responses that you're comfortable with. And if you still don't understand, do not be embarrassed. Do not feel ashamed that, hey, I'm so foolish, I cannot. No, you ask, even if the question can sound to you as foolish as ever. Ask questions, make comments, seek clarification.
All right.
I think that advice goes for all across the board. Whether you
definitely
have diabetes, hypertension, it's great to make sure that you communicate exactly what you think and how you feel. And that's very important. So we've come to the end of our program today, and you have definitely enlightened us on the challenges and what a cancer patient definitely goes through. So we want to thank you for being here and sharing your experience, Ms. Kitten. So thank you. We really appreciate that.
And thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Welcome. Well, I'm your host, Carlton, saying see you next time on Health Vibes. Go out and do something productive and impact humanity. Bye-bye.
Bye.
You're listening to Health Vibes. You were listening to Health Vibes, a production of Jolly's Pharmacy Limited.
True essence that I pre-life. Why does the wrong always seem right? Thank God I could see light too. See right when they all see wrong. Never stop when they want you to. Live a dream through the God you, through the God you know. Tell you this, past the past and deal with the